Greetings again everyone, it's time for another new autofocus lens from 7Artisans, their AF 35mm f1.4. It's currently just for Fujifilm X mount cameras and its price is $169 or £159 here in the UK. I'd like to thank the Per Gear company very much for providing a sample of this lens for testing, although as usual this is a totally independent review. Could a 35mm f1.4 autofocus lens that's this impressively inexpensive possibly be any good? Well, even if it's not the best optic in the world for that price, quite a few people will be interested anyway. On Fujifilm X mount, this lens is the full frame equivalent of about 53mm, so that's a perfect standard field of view. And that maximum aperture of f1.4 is super bright, letting in loads of light for faster shutter speeds and getting impressively out of focus backgrounds in your images. It's the kind of lens you could stick on your camera and shoot with pretty much any day. The particular lens's design is unusual in that it's one of the shortest and fattest that I've ever seen, and at 184 grams, or well under half a pound, it's very lightweight as well. The lens is mostly made of plastic, unsurprisingly, which will keep the costs down. The rear mount is made of metal though, and there's a USB connection on the side for future firmware updates. The lens doesn't seem to feature any weather sealing. The lens's only control point is a manual focus ring, which turns smoothly but a little heavily. In this footage you can see the focus motor responds fine to it being turned, but we also get a moderate amount of focus breathing here. The lens's autofocus motor is slightly on the slow side, and it misfocused for me occasionally. Also, the motor makes an audible buzzing sound as it works. It's not very loud, but certainly there, and it'll absolutely get picked up by your camera's microphone when shooting video, or any microphone attached to it. The lens's front filter size is 62mm wide, and it comes with quite a generously sized plastic hood. It does not feature image stabilization. Overall, the lens works okay here, but the autofocus motor is clearly pretty cheap and cheerful. Well, let's look at image quality. I'll be testing it today on my trusty Fujifilm X-T3 with its 26MP APS-C sensor. In the middle of the image at f1.4, we are seeing some resolution here, but it's rather clouded over by very strong purple fringing on contrasting edges. Stop down to f2 and that fringing goes away, leaving us with decent enough sharpness, but it's only at f2.8 that we see excellent sharpness in the middle of the image. Let's open back up to f1.4 and look over in the image corners. Oh dear, the less said about the image corners the better, especially considering that strong lateral colour fringing. Stop down to f2 for more contrast, but not really any more sharpness. At f2.8, f4 and f5.6 we get gradual improvements to sharpness, but the key issue here is that very strong colour fringing, some of the worst I've yet seen. Stopping down further doesn't help anything. Overall, it's a rather weak performance here. The middle of the image offers some sharpness, which gets better when the lens is topped down, but those image corners are very weak, even on an older 26MP sensor like this one. Okay, well, let's bypass any in-camera corrections by shooting in RAW and take a look at distortion and vignetting. The lens projects a moderate amount of barrel distortion here. Image corners are very dark at f1.4. Stop down to f2, f2.8 or f4 for them to slowly start brightening up, but they never get any better than this. The lens's minimum focus distance is a rather handy 35cm. Unfortunately, when shooting close up, image quality deteriorates further, looking badly washed out at f1.4. There's a small improvement at f2. Stop down to f2.8 for good close-up image quality though. Let's see how well the lens works against bright light. Okay, it's a pretty bad performance here, there's no sweetening the pill. The lens throws up plenty of colourful flaring and glaring. If you stop down to f2 then you can cut out a fair deal of that glaring, but still the lens is struggling. While we're working in the dark, let's take a look for coma and sun stars. More problems here, this time with coma smearing, which is strong on this lens at f1.4. At f2 it's somewhat reduced, at f2.8 it's mostly gone, but colour fringing is still very noticeable. It's even still there at f5.6. Talking about f5.6, it's there that we begin to see sun stars emerging. At f8, f11 and f16 they get quite strong. Next, bokeh. Strongly out of focus backgrounds look nice and smooth with this lens, but anything in the middle distance gets rather busy and edgy looking. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. It's bad at f1.4 and still there at f2.8. Stop down to f4 and it's finally pretty much gone. Overall, well, it's obvious that the 7Artisans autofocus 35mm f1.4 is a very cheap and cheerful lens. It's definitely not intended to offer sharp image quality, and it definitely doesn't. It's just for people who want a very low budget autofocus lens with a very bright aperture that they can use every day and who don't really care about image quality. For them, it will work okay and admittedly get you some nice looking images. I mean, look at these samples. For anyone else though, you'll soon be after something a bit sharper than this one. Thanks for watching everyone. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my channel where you can find playlists for the camera equipment you are looking for, and as usual, a special thanks to my Patreon supporters and channel members who've helped to keep this channel trucking on sponsorship free for absolutely years now. Supporters get all kinds of extra bonus content and early access to reviews, so check it out in the description below, and ciao for now.